Here's to women who can tie a cherry stem with their tongue, walking out on your bill, and conversation so deep you need a change of clothes. Costello sat in the tub while the shower rained down on him far longer than he should have, and that 100 milliliters of tequila went down far quicker than he liked. His flight was scheduled for late afternoon tomorrow, so he felt rather uninhibited. He donned the Abbott & Costello shirt Jenna gave him. Today he would unfurl his feathers and acquiesce to his troubled psyche. Wear the damn shirt proudly, and put an exclamation mark on an epoch filled with quietly loving someone you will never have. It was a bit chilly in comparison to a Southern California August, so he layered himself with a light cardigan. Odds were the temperature would get low enough that this hip new look may not be sufficient for the weather. He ignored that detail and stuck with the ensemble. Today he's going to meet his imaginary cast of characters de novo. He drafted a quick itinerary. Getting fucked up was always in his wheelhouse, but not driving a rental around a city he'd never been to before. The last thing he needs to do is wind up like his dad with a DUI. He went down to the concierge to try on his newfound valor. He was briefed on all the locations in Seattle where he could drive to see the city, scout some pubs and cocktail bars. Then he would rally the Jeep back and call a car to go back and see what kind of trouble he could dust up before summoning his cast of characters for a little session of toasts. Everything seemed to be falling right into his hands. He pushed the steward staff and air marshals right up to the precipice of detention without incident. He was able to find closeness to closure regarding Jenna. He was off his medication and he felt free from the cave it stuffed him inside. Now he was going to venture about Seattle in an overpriced convertible SUV and find bars to help him conjure up a group of entities haunting him to his delight. It came to his attention the keys to the Jeep would be helpful, so he came down to reality and began a search. The last time he used the keys was day one of the expo. That felt like ages ago. He'd turned his hotel room into an inner sanctum. This realization tempered his anxiety momentarily so he could wade through the apathy. Everyone has lost their keys. This is such a trivial incident. So why was it weighing on Costello so widely? He knew exactly where the keys were. He knew precisely where the keys shouldn't be. He just couldn't put his finger on where he wanted them. The chaos in his head was so outstanding he couldn't tell if he was looking for car keys or hiding the resistance from Benito Mussolini. He began to think driving may be a bad idea. Then suddenly he realized there were no bad ideas. Only ideas the mind cranks out that can be tossed aside like empty beer cans on a stifling hot July on the West Coast. He walked over to his carry-on luggage and pulled out the keys. He threw them at the hotel door as though he knew exactly what he was doing. The sound of metal against thin carpet was unfamiliar, though. A bizarre coalescing of worlds coming together at once, or just car keys striking cheap carpet. Either way, Costello's mind was made up. He was on his way to scout the city. With his keys located, he did a quick inventory of his person for the outing. He pulled out his wallet, which he found occupied by a substantial amount of cash, a credit card, and his driver license. Tucked away in his wallet was a St. Michael pendant his mother gave him decades ago. This wasn't a totem he carried for faith, but out of respect for his mother. Plus he began to find an attachment to it after all these years. He had a Burt's Bees lip balm he rarely used, but carried out a superstition. He started carrying one years ago because he noticed even under the most inclement weather, just having it with him kept his lips from chapping. Last item confirmed. His Kershaw blade, which somehow slipped through TSA. All systems go. Costello was accustomed to either cycling or calling a car to get around town. Driving seemed to open the floodgates for the endorphins. It was the first analgesic he had experienced from his own non-alcoholic activities. Even his love of cycling never gave him this natural euphoria. Sadly, the euphoria began to fade as he toured the city. It faded so much, his strategic self started planning to drink sooner than later. His flight is late enough tomorrow. So why not find an overnight parking structure and call a car to get back to the hotel tonight? There will be plenty of time to get the Jeep tomorrow.